Okay.
Okay. So for F5, we have discussed things like of the linear programming where we discussed these things. That see the linear programming thing is divided into four parts. First, when you see a question, you have to make the equation. All right. Now, see there are this like in the question that we did, all right, understand this, the question that we did, they wanted us to do everything from top to bottom, correct? You have to make the equation and this and
Yes.
this and this and solve. So in that way what happens, they at times they give easy question. Okay, they give
Mm-hmm.
you easy question because you have to do too many things, fine, so they don't want to get you confused with any one particular thing, they want it to be easy so that you understand how this is to be solved. Now if I have to give you a 2 marks question, okay, 2 marks question, I will give you the things which are given in the question and I will ask you just to make this equation, take 2 marks, correct?
Okay. Yes.
And in that case, if I'm asking you just to make one equation, I can put more complications there, right?
Oh,
Do you
okay.
understand? Because if I
Yes.
want you to solve the equation, there has to be only two products. Why? Because I want you to solve, correct? And more than two products you can't solve. X and Y. If I put three products, you can't solve, right? Because there
Mm-hmm.
is no Z axis, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
But if I just want you to make the equation, then I can give you 30 products. What is the problem? I am not asking you to solve, so why are you taking pressure? Do you get my point, what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
Okay, so you have to understand the mechanics, the mechanism which is working for this, so that if they break the question and give you just one part of it, you should be able to understand. Because see here what is happening, less than, equal to, every time you are getting less than, equal to, okay, there
Yes.
can be a situation where you will get less than, not equal to, fine. Now pay attention, what I'm trying to say is while doing this question, since it required this, I discussed the entire question in a particular language where the end result was this, less than equal to, less than equal to, less than equal to, fine. Why? Because I had to get this sums solved, fine. I didn't even get a chance to discuss this because it was not there. Do you understand? Now, what
Yes.
they will write, that, you will choose between this and this. Like, what will be the difference in the question? Fine. How will they tell you that you have to use this one or this one? Fine. So, this is when they say that you can use up to 2400 hours. Okay. You can use up to 2400 hours, means less than 2400 or 2400. See, the problem here is about the language, less than, more than language.
Mm.
The problem here is if I say less than 10, so that means x is less than 10, fine. More than
Yes.
10, more than
Yes.
10, so that means x is more than 10, fine. That means what about x is equal to 10? This belongs to which group? Because see, x1 belongs to this group, x5 belongs to this group, x9 belongs to this group, x11 belongs to this group, correct?
Yes.
x15 belongs to this group, but x10, this belongs to which group?
Neither of them.
Neither of them, correct?
Yeah.
Now the language is less than 10 means this, more than 10 means this, fine. Like up to, Fine. This is the other word because less than equal to, they will have to either write the full thing less than equal to, or they will say up to 10. Fine.
Yes.
So up to 10 means what? It means this also. Do you understand?
Yes. Up.
Correct?
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
Because up to 10 means till 10 the value is valid. Correct? So these are few things which can, like, which can be changed here and there. Uh, wait. Now let me see the book. Hmm. And you guys have got a different kind of book, right? You
Yes,
have the
we have
workbook, correct?
workbook. Yeah.
Yeah. So fine. Let me do this and see if we, and you have this book, right? This soft copy all of you have got, correct?
Yes, sir.
Fine. This is still, I think, is better than the workbook because the standard of workbook is like below below what is required.
Hmm.
Okay.
Fine. So anyways, limiting factor. Okay. Today we have another horrible stuff, pricing decision. Fine. So today's class is pricing decision. Fine. So let's finish this like a little bit of shadow price discussion that we had to do. What is a shadow price? So we'll try to fix this. Okay. Uh, you guys have which calculator? Which calculator are you using right now? Like, do you guys have this one?
Yes, sir.
Harsha, you have, right?
Yes, sir. I
Yes.
have.
And what about Tahrim and
I
Hiba?
have a calculator. Yeah.
You have this one or which one?
Which one are you showing?
ES 991.
Um, yes, I have it.
Okay. And Hiba?
Yes, yes, I have the smart one.
Yeah, you have the smart one, but do you have it? Because your children use it more than you.
Yes, yes.
So that's why I need to be clear with it. Okay, fine, fine. Then it will be easy for us because then, like, I'll cut down the calculation part on the calculator and we'll discuss the main topic. Fine. Otherwise, like, we will get confused with the calculation itself. Fine. So shadow price. Okay. So here is our shadow price. Now they have written some things here which you guys obviously will study, read. All right, see the main question. If you remember, this was the question that we were solving right now. See, WX manufactured two products, exactly same question. Mixing department, shaping department, variable cost, sales value, 13,000. Remember, B cannot be sold more
Yes.
than 13, 2400 hours is the time. Same question, fine. Then what they have done, they have made the equation. See, same equation that we had made and solved. Fine. 0.06x, y, and all these equations. Now they solved it. They are saying that, see, we have already solved and the optimal solution is x24 and y12. Now this is the exact number that we got. See, when we solved all this, see, A 24 and 12. This is what we got. This is what they are saying. X24, Y12. Contribution 8,400. Fine. So here you can see contribution 8,400 is the best one. Are we fine and okay till here?
Yes.
Okay. Because
Yes.
what they also have done is they have given you a summary of what we just did. Fine. Then they are saying that, see, if you are producing 24,000 and 12,000 units, what will happen because of this? Okay. So because of this, if you look into the graph, and this thing also I think we discussed, okay, what will happen is that these two departments resources, mixing and shaping department resources, will be fully utilized. Why? Because see, at the intersection of these two lines only we have our maximum point. Okay,
Yes.
because at the intersection of these 2 points we have the maximum, like our feasible amount. So in that case, see, these two resources will be completely utilized. Here you had 13,000 till sales was allowed till 13,000, but see, since this point is not on this line, what is happening? There is a slack, right? We are selling only 12,000, though we are allowed to sell how much? 13,
15.
correct? So there is a slack. Fine. If this B would have been, I'm just saying, fine. If B would have been our answer, then it means, see, the shaping department will be completely exhausted, but there will be some slack, there will be some gap in the mixing department. We have 2,400 units, hours, right? We must be using maybe 2,200 or 300 hours here. Do you get my point, what I'm trying to say? Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm saying that the feasible point is where, and it is on top of intersection of which two lines. Okay, in this case we have, see, in this case we have mixing and shaping, so these two resources are fully utilized and there will be slack in remaining. एक बार इसको लगा दो नीचे. Okay, and then if the feasible point is here at point B, if it is at point B, that simply means that the, like, this constraint, fine, and this shaping department constraint are being completely utilized. There will be slack in other risk constraints. This is all I'm trying to say. Fine. Now, since there is no slack over here, going back to our topic today, fine. Since there is no slack, that means you have 2,400 hours and the entire 2,400 hours are being consumed. Correct?
Yes.
Now, I want you guys to do the calculation on your calculator and see. See, 24,000, this is the value of X, and 12,000 is the value of B. So put that value and check what are you getting. So on your calculator, 0.06 multiplied by 24,000 plus 0.08 multiplied by 12,000 equal to, what do you get?
2,400.
2,400. Try the same with the second line, this one.
$2,400.
See, here we were supposed to use less than equal to 2,400. Less than was also possible, correct?
Yes.
But what we are realizing, that there is no concept of less than. 2,400 hours were available and we are using
Yes.
entirely 2,400 hours.
Yes.
Fine. So there is no extra time. Now understand carefully. Shadow pricing means if I increase 1 hour here, if I increase 1 hour here, okay,
Yes.
how much benefit I will get? Because that is the maximum I can pay, right? For increasing that 1 hour. Do you understand?
Yes.
Fine. If I can increase this by 1 hour and I will be making a benefit of $2, but for increasing that 1 hour, I need to pay $4, then I will not increase. Let it be where it is. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, see, you see this question, it is good that everything is in one place right now. Okay, so all of this is here. And now if I tell you that there is one guy who is telling us, who is telling the company, see, your current demand for Y is how much? 13. Fine.
Mm.
If you pay 5,000 more, I will increase this to 18. Means I'll do some marketing for you, and currently you can't sell more than 13. Fine. But after my marketing, you will be able to sell around like 18,000 units.
Mm.
Okay. What should we do? Should we agree to this? He's saying 500, only $500. Forget about 5,000. What should we do? Should we pay him 500 and ask him to increase this? You have to
No.
answer today only. Yes. Who said no?
Me?
Hello. Acha, me.
Hello?
Okay. Okay. Fine. So now, yes, that
Yeah, because
me is correct. Fine. Because it doesn't make any sense to increase that, right? Because you can sell 13,000, whereas you are selling how much?
Well,
So
Hmm.
it doesn't make sense. Even if this guy is asking for $1, we should not pay. Why? Because after paying that $1, this will go up to 18 and you will stuck here, right? You are still selling 13, 12 only. Why?
Hmm.
Because actually this was not even the constraint. This was nowhere actually in the picture. Your main problem is with these two things then. This means that only. When you
Hmm.
when your answer is at the intersection of these equations, that means these are your problem. This is not even a problem till now. This is not even a problem till now. Are we fine with this?
mm.
Yes.
And it doesn't make any sense to pay a single dollar to increase Y, because if this line goes up, then also you don't get anything out of it, right? See, if this line, all right, if this
Hmm.
line goes up, still your main answer will remain here, right?
Hmm.
Fine. If I draw a line, like if I draw a line at this point here, fine, what will happen? My final answer will remain this only. So what is the point in
Okay.
this increase? Correct?
Mm.
Okay. Okay. So now, see, here what they're doing is shadow pricing. So what they're doing is they're increasing 1 hour, and then they're trying to see what will be the impact of this 1 hour on our final analysis. Okay. So on your calculator, just to see that if you guys are okay with this calculation or not, see, 0.06x plus 0.08y is less than equal to, so I'm writing equal to 2400. 0.04x plus 0.12y is equal to 2400. This is the two things, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
1 and 2. Fine.
Mm.
Now on your calculator, fine, press that mode and then 5, because that is equation, and then
Mm.
1. So you will get something like this: ABC
Yeah.
on your screen, correct?
Yes.
Fine. So now you put one number at a time. So 0.06 equal to, that will go here.
Mm.
Then type 0.08 equal to, that will go here. And then 2400 equal to, that will go here. Fine.
Mm.
Similarly, again 0.04 and equal to, it will go here. And 0.012 equal to, it will go here. And 2400 equal to, it will go here. All this is done.
Yes, sir.
Fine. And then press equal to one more time. Did you get 24,000?
Yeah.
And then press again equal to, did you get 12,000?
Yeah.
So now you
Yes.
know how to solve simultaneous equation, correct?
Mm.
how to solve simultaneous equation on your calculator. Are we fine till here?
Yes, sir.
And now see, this is what we are talking about.
Okay.
We are going to do this, fine. Whatever department this was, mixing, shaping, whatever, fine. What will happen if I add, like, one more hour here? Fine. So now what you have to do is again type the whole thing. Fine. This will be 0608. Here you do 2401 and then continue with the same thing and press equal to and see what answers are you getting. Okay. So solve, like, solve this simultaneous equation. Solve this. Fine. What change I have done? I have just added 1 hour in one department. Fine. You guys do the maths.
X is 24030.
X, 1 second. X is
30.
24030. All right. So basically, we are increasing this by 30 units,
Yeah.
and Y is, it will be reduced
11990.
11990. So basically, we are reducing this by 10. Anyways, these are our new answers, right, for X and Y.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you remember, the equation of contribution was 0.2x plus 0.3y. This was the equation. See here also you can see 0.2x plus 0.3y.
Mhm.
Correct? So
Yeah.
now just fill in the blanks. New numbers. Contribution will be how much? 0.2 into 24030. Okay? And plus 0.3 into y, that is 11990. I think you should get 8403.
Yeah. 8403.
All of you are getting this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 8403.
Yes.
Fine. Now see, the idea is that when we were having 24 and 12, okay, when we had 24 and 12, what did we realize? Our contribution was 8400, but when we are changing 1 hour here, okay, our answer is changing by like 30 and 1990. Fine.
Yes.
And finally our contribution is 8403. So basically $3 is the benefit. Okay. If you add one more hour here, $3 will be the extra benefit. Are we fine with that?
Yes.
So $3 is the shadow price. That is the maximum that I can pay. Again, listen to the words carefully. That is the maximum that I can pay. It's not, it doesn't mean I will pay 3. Correct? I'm saying the maximum. So this will be at the back of my head when I will sit down with you while doing the negotiation. All right?
Mm. Yes.
So, like, maybe I will start at 1, you will start at 4, and we'll maybe settle at 2. So basically, I will pay $2 more to get this one hour, and because of this extra 1 hour, I will make $3 more. So I will be getting $1 profit, extra profit. Do you understand?
Mm.
This 3 is known as the shadow price. Fine. Let's do it again for this one. So this time we will let it be 2400 what it was, and here we will add $1, 1 hour. Okay. So this time you will have this as 2400 only. You will be writing 2401 over here. Okay. Again try to solve and see what value of x and y you are getting. All right. Sahal, Which
Yes, sir.
calculator do you use? Which calculator do you have?
I use on the computer.
Okay, okay, fine. Because see, what we are doing right now is we are using 991 ES calculator, fine, and we are using a function there, mode 5 equation and 1. You get like this, and this is an easy way of solving the simultaneous equation. All right, no problem. You can solve the simultaneous equation in the in the normal way. The only thing is you will take 2 minutes more.
Yeah.
Fine, you will come to the same conclusion. I'm not trying to teach simultaneous equation today. Okay? Like, I'm just
Okay.
trying to keep the discussion very crisp and to the point. Otherwise, again, we'll be solving simultaneous equation and there some plus minus we will do errors. Correct? So
Yeah.
just to stick to the point. Fine. How much are we
Correct.
getting, guys, with for this? The value of x and the value of y now will be how much?
Can you say again how we type this?
Very good. So can you clear everything? Okay,
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Mm.
So after clearing everything, press mode, then press 5 y- because the fifth is the equation one, and then press 1 because that is ax plus bx equal to c.
Yeah,
Correct?
1 second. Okay. Okay. So first thing.
All right. So we'll start from the beginning.
Mm.
Fine. So mode
Yes,
first
I
you put
cleared everything. Mode. Yes.
fine. Then you press 5 because on 5 do you see equation written?
Yes.
EQN, fine, and then you will get a long list 1, 2, 3, 4 like
Mm.
that. So in one
So we.
only
Okay.
you have ax plus bx
Mm.
equal to c,
Yes.
correct? So press 1 and now you will get a screen like this,
Mm.
abc
Okay. I.
abc two times, fine. So
Yes.
again you start a, you write 0.06 equal to, so that will take this space. Okay, then 0.08 equal to, you don't have to write anything more than that, you just
Okay.
feed in the numbers, and this will be 2400, so 2400, enter, done.
Yes.
Then again 0.04, enter, 0.012, enter, and 2401, enter, equal to, all done.
Okay.
So once you have fed in all the data, press equal to again, that will give you the value of x. What do you get?
23980.
23980, and here what do you get?
12015.
015, fine. So this is what we are getting. Now put this value in this equation, contribution equation, and see what do you get. Means zero point 0.2 multiplied by x, so multiplied by 23980, plus 0.3 multiplied by 1215. How much are we getting? How much do you get?
So what should we do?
You are trying to calculate contribution. Okay?
Okay, I understood.
Yeah. See. So, like, you have to put this here in this equation, the value
Yeah.
of x and y that you have calculated, you have to put this here so that you can get the contribution. So, how much do you get? The values are here. These are the values you have calculated, 23,980 for x and 1215 for y. So, just put the numbers there and see what do you get.
4084.1.
Okay. So how much? 84?
4084.
Okay, 1 second. 840.
No,
48,
48.
480.
Yes,
Okay. That's it? 480?
4084.
Okay, fine. Very good. 4084, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I should, like, prescribe some punishment for your calculator or for your fingers to, like, break them or do something. All right.
It's eight
This is how much?
8400.5.
Yeah, 8400.5 should be the
Yes,
answer, and
I
point
got this.
5. Yeah, very good. So, like, you were keeping it a secret.
No, I thought I was wrong.
I don't know. Now listen and listen carefully. See, I mean, this is the problem. See, when I did this, I was already getting little bit scared, because what happens, when you start giving too much of easy information, instructions, then this happens. Your own shuts down, and then you are waiting. Like, if I ask you 2 plus 2, then also you will say, okay, sir, can you write? And can you then tell 2, then press 2 plus, and then again 2, then equal to, this happens. All right. See, the moral of the whole story, like why we are doing all this and what are we trying to do here? Fine. We are trying to calculate shadow price. What is shadow price? What is shadow price? Shadow price is the maximum which the company can bear for increasing 1 unit of the constraint. Okay, which constraint? The most critical constraint. Critical, this is, like, this is the most critical constraint, because this is what is actually stopping you from doing production. All right, this is where your main, like, the point is that we saw in the graph. See, this is the main point, right? 24,000 and 12,000. This point C that we have here. Fine. This is at the intersection of these two things. That's why we are not trying to calculate shadow price of this line. We are not trying to do that. Why? Wherever there is slack, there will be no shadow price. The shadow price will always be 0. And that is what I started today's class explaining, that if somebody comes and tell me, give me $1, okay, give me $1 and I will do marketing for you and I will increase this to 15,000. I'm not interested, because currently it is 13 and I am selling 12,000. So I am unable to fulfill the current requirement. You are trying to tell me I will increase it further. How will that help me? My problem is not this demand. Okay, my main problem is this demand is not my issue. My main problem is the mixing and the shaping department, the machines that I'm using there. Do you get my point?
Yes.
So from there we take these two equations. Okay, we take these two equations and then what do? We add one in this and then one in this, one by one, not both at the same time. Fine. And we try to see, because normally my answer was 24,000 and 12,000, correct?
Mm.
That was
Yes.
the normal answer. Now I added plus 1 here and my answer changed to 2430 and 1190, correct?
Mm.
Now in that case, what my contribution will be? I try to calculate that. See, I am not solving this question in a proper format. Fine. I'm not
Mm.
solving this like, if I solve it like this. Fine. So solution. Point number 1. Shadow price for mixing department. Shadow price for mixing department. So fine. Now what we'll do is we'll take the equation. All right. And then again here I'll write adding plus 1 hours to the mixing department. So again, we'll write this equation. Solving this, I get the value of x and y. I'm not doing that in a particular order because that way it is easy for you guys to memorize. You will
Yes.
start memorizing this.
Mm.
Fine. I am trying to explain things to you so that you can understand this format. You can understand what you are actually doing. Once you understand, whatever format you use, it's all correct. Fine, because this is not accounts where there is debit and credit. Fine.
Yes.
This is not account. So here it is actually all about the maths. But the risk of doing this is that you will start memorizing. Fine.
Mm.
So that's why I'm trying to keep it this way, because here you are being forced to understand what's happening, because see, the numbers are jumping from one point to another, and here this is not even calculation. This is calculator, not calculation. Correct?
Mm. Yes.
So, what are the main maths that we are doing? First, you understand that. What is the logic? What is the idea? Then, how you are going to do that and present it comes automatically. That doesn't matters in this F5.
Mm.
Are we fine with that?
Yes.
Okay. And what we actually saw was I changed this from 2400 to 2401, and what I realized is that because of this my contribution is increasing by $3 more. Fine. So $3 is the
Mm.
maximum that I can pay for this one hour. Similarly, I added I made this back to 2400. I added one in this one this time, and what I found was that my contribution was increasing by zero point 0.5 because of this. So zero point 0.5 is the maximum that I can pay for this 1 hour. Are we fine with
Mm.
this?
Yes.
Because that is the benefit I'm going to get, and that is known as shadow price. That is the definition of that shadow price. Okay. See, this is what it is. Then they have added one extra hour here. Fine. And solution by simultaneous equation working is not shown. So they are also doing the same thing, you go home and do the working. How you are going to solve the simultaneous equation is about your choice. Fine.
Mm.
With the calculator you can do it very easily. And then x and y, so see, they got the same value, then they put this in the equation. See, zero point 0.2 and zero point 0.3, they are multiplying this 0.2 0.3, adding, they are getting 0.5.
Mm.
So 0.5 is the maximum that can be paid, that is the shadow price.
Mm.
Are we fine with that?
Yes.
Similarly here, what is the shadow price of 1 hour of machine time in the mixing department? Now they're changing the line mixing department, so the first one is changed and the second one is again brought back to normal.
Mm.
Again they solved, they got this. Okay,
Yes.
they are multiplying 24 with zero point 0.2, this with 0.3, adding, they are getting 8403, more than 8400 by $3. So $3 is the answer. Shadow price is $3. Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay. So that was about shadow price, and now we have a torturous thing to start. Okay, where is it? Yeah, the pricing decisions. Okay, pricing decisions. Fine. Now, see, the problem with this particular chapter is that, see, last time we started limiting factor, and I think somewhere I was able to summarize this whole chapter for you. The full, yeah, here it is. See, this was the thing, right? If you have one product, then this is how you can do the decision: production and demand, whichever is lower, easy. If you have more products and demand is the only problem that you have, then you use CS ratio. Okay. If you have more than one product and there are limiting factors apart from demand, fine, then what you do? So if demand is only there, you use the CS ratio for ranking. If there are, apart from demand, there is something else, then you calculate contribution per limiting factor. Okay. If you have more than one constraint, more than one limitation, fine. Like, see, apart from demand, you have two limitations, two. Then what do? You find the limitation which is stopping you the most, and then you do the ranking. Correct? And if you have more than two, then what do? You do the LPP, linear programming. Correct? So that was the crux of the entire chapter, right?
Mm.
And that is what we did one by one. Okay? That is what we did one by one. Now, coming back to today's class, I mean, this next topic that we have to start, which was pricing decision. Fine. The problem with this pricing decision is that here we have got topics. I cannot make, like, one chart or table kind of stuff, the thing that we did in the last chapter, where, like, that was also a very scattered kind of thing, but then I arranged it in a way and then it was easy to talk about it. Fine. Now in pricing decision, the problem is, see, in pricing decision, okay, first thing, how will you price a product? Try, think, like, what will you consider if you are making anything, any business, if you're doing any business, restaurant business, generally people think about that. Okay, if you're doing that, how will you price the product that you are making and selling? What can be or could be the criteria?
The cost involved.
All right, cost
Prof-
based pricing. What else? You are right, fine, we'll see the cost. What else?
Cost of capital.
That is already here. Cost means all kind of cost.
Okay. Profit.
That is cost of capital and it is already here.
Okay.
Anything else?
Labor hours.
Okay, 1 second. In
What?
economics, wait. In economics, you guys have already learned this. See, land, labor, capital, and the entrepreneur. So all these four things comes together, then production can happen. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you compensate? So you give rent to land, you get wages to labor, you give interest to capital, and what does the entrepreneur gets? He gets the profit. So if you add all of this, this is the cost of production. Okay,
Mm.
this is the cost of production. So when you are talking about cost based pricing,
Okay.
you guys have given me three different names for the same thing. Cost of capital is, like, this interest and profit, fine. Then the profit itself. Then now I think Sahal was talking about labor, right?
Yes.
That is all cost, right? Again, listen, if we are starting a restaurant, fine, and we have to price that, okay, what will be the price of the product which we are producing? Okay, so the one way of doing the work is cost. So cost means what? We'll see what is the, like, for 1 unit how much of raw material is required, what's the cost of that, how much of labor, what's the cost of that labor, plus what is the overhead, plus what is the profit. We add everything, we get the price at which we have to sell it.
Mm.
Correct?
Yes.
This
Yes.
is cost based pricing. What else?
Price in the market.
Very good. Market based pricing. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Market based pricing. Fine. So, like, if you want to come up with a new product, or sorry, if you want to sell your product in the old market where people already know what it is, fine. Then what do? You try, like, you ignore the cost. Ignore the cost means you do the calculation, you see the number, and then you keep it. You don't take decision on the basis of cost. You directly move into this one. Okay, you look at your competitors, fine, you read the market, and accordingly you decide. See, if in the market price elasticity is too high, people are, like, too
Yes.
much what do you say, responsive towards price, then what do? You try to do penetration pricing. Means you try to reduce your own like price of your product, so that people will come to you. Fine. If you are trying to get into a market, if you are trying to get into a business where money is not a problem for the consumers, they can pay, they are looking for value, then you do skimming pricing. You increase the cost, so that, see, just like normal, um okay, one cup of coffee, all right, is 2 real, all right, and in some place it is 10 real. Which one is better? Which coffee do you think is better? I'm not telling you anything like this is espresso, cappuccino, what not. I'm not telling you anything, I'm just giving you the price, and I want to know your mindset. Fine. Which one is better, like
10
better
real.
quality? Which one?
10 real. 10
10
real.
real, right? So see, this depends on the market study, right? In the market, what kind of people do we have? Are they looking
Yes.
for good products? So even if these two products are almost same, just by doing higher pricing, what I am doing is I am giving this perception in the mind of the consumers that this is better than that one. Correct?
Yes.
I'm giving them this perception that this one is better than this one. Fine. So that is skimming pricing. Fine. So I can do all these kind of pricing. Fine. What else is there? There is some kind of economics, because in economics now we have all that demand analysis, right? Because we are talking about pricing. Remember, economics demand analysis, what does it talks about? The demand curve is downward sloping. If you want to sell this many units, this is the price. If you want this many units, this will be the price. Correct?
Yes.
So then there is little bit of economics also, where you will have to talk about demand, elasticity. Correct? Now the problem is where should I talk about the markets? Perfect competition, that will come under this one or this one. Monopoly, that will come under where, like under this one or this one. It is market also, and it is economics also. That is why this
Yes.
whole topic, this whole discussion is little bit like mixed.
Mm.
Do you understand? Like, this is what I was telling you last time. I gave you a very clear chart, a very clear format. If demand is the only thing, then we do this. That's it. Fine. Then if one limitation, we do this. Two limitation, we do this. More than two limitation, we do this. Okay. So now you cannot ask, okay, if this is the question, should I do the first one or the second one? Because it's very clear stuff. Okay. In this particular chapter, pricing decision, this is the problem, because like you will find things getting entangled. All right. So what we are going to do here is we'll take one thing at a time and we'll discuss. So we'll be talking about points here. Like I will not be able to give you the structure of this chapter. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to take one topic at a time, finish it, and move forward. Fine. So, like let's, as usual, we'll do our discussion, then we'll see in the book what is where. Fine.
Okay.
Point number one, we'll start with. One second, one second, one second. Okay. Okay. So point number one. Hmm. First is markets. Okay.
Mm.
So what do you understand by the word market? Once upon a time, the definition was market is a place where the buyer and seller meet and they do their transaction. Today, the definition is
Not this.
the medium through which buyer and seller meets.
Mm.
Okay? Meet.
Okay.
So medium, because like today again you can see there are too much of online shops and markets going on, correct?
Yes.
Amazon, eBay, all these things. Fine.
Mm.
So medium through which this happens. Now, classification of markets. How many types of markets are there? Classification of markets. Okay. This classification depends on criteria. What criteria you are taking, fine, to distribute, to classify the markets. Like for example, if you look at the commodity, so you have vegetable market, cloth market, car market, correct?
Mm.
Okay. If you look at the region, all right, region, fine.
Mm.
So local market, national market, international market. Local market is where local people will come and sell their products, fine.
Mm.
National market is where like people all across the nation, they come there, like some trade fairs or something. In that, everybody comes from different corners of the country, I mean seller and buyer both, to like do some transaction, do some business. Okay. And
Mhm.
then international, so there are international expos, right, car and all that.
Mm.
So that is international market, where you can buy international goods and stuff. So classification depends on what criteria you are choosing. In F5 especially, fine, we have to talk about one thing only, that is classification on the basis of competition. Okay.
Mm.
So classification on the basis of competition. So if we classify on the basis of competition, then how many types of markets we are going to have? One is monopoly. Okay. So
Yes.
now what is the characteristics of monopoly? We have single seller. Okay. Many buyers.
Mm.
Fine. These people are price makers, not price takers. Correct. The product here is highly differentiated. Okay. Differentiated, that means no close substitutes. That is, no close substitute. Okay.
Mm.
So that is what we have, highly differentiated. The entry barriers are too high, strict entry barriers. They'll not let you enter this market, right?
Yes.
Fine. So these are some basic things. Fine. Now, point number two, another can be duopoly. Like here, there was quite a long time when Microsoft had some kind of monopoly. Today, you can say that Google has the same monopoly. More than 98% of the
Yes.
business, all right, that belongs to Google. So the other one or two businesses which are there, it literally feels as if like Google must have funded them to be there so that they will not be called monopoly,
Mm.
right? Like that is almost negligible.
Yes.
Fine. But anyways, this is how it is. Duopoly, fine. For example, Pepsi and Coke.
Mm.
Fine. The thing is, everything remains same. Two sellers, that's it. Two sellers. Fine.
Mm.
Again, they decide, in this case, they are not price makers, they have price cartels. Okay. Cartels basically means kind of
Mm.
grouping, and you can see that. See, Pepsi and Coke, fine, they are arch rivals to each other. They, like at times they make weird kind of ads, all right, where
Mm.
they, like they almost abuse each other over the TV, over the ad. Fine.
Yes.
But then they never fight on price. See, if you want to kill the other company, you just reduce the price of your product.
Mm.
Correct. So they don't do that because they obviously have some kind
Yes.
of agreement among themselves that we will fight on every other thing except for price. Otherwise, the consumers will be the winner in this and both of us will lose.
Mm.
So that is what it is. Fine. Again, everything else remains same. So one, two, and the third one is oligopoly. Oligo basically means some. Okay, some. And again, an example here can be your automobiles industry. Automobiles. How many companies are selling car here in Qatar? Fine. Do your counting. Fine. You will find 15 maybe, close to 15, not more than that. Okay. So that is oligopoly. Some sellers, many buyers. Here also it is like some sellers and we have price cartels. Are we fine with this?
Yeah.
Then we
Yes.
have monopolistic competition.
Mm.
Monopolistic competition. So here what happens that the companies they have little bit of monopoly means they have brand loyal people. Okay.
Mm.
For example, toothpaste.
Yes.
Fine. So there are few people who want Colgate. There are few people who want Pepsodent. Okay, they will they will go to 2 3 shops if they don't get what they are asking for in one place. All right.
Mm.
So if I want Colgate, I want Colgate only. You don't have it here, no problem. I'll search in some other store, some other mall. Fine. There are few people who want only paste. Fine. So you just give them anything. They're happy with it. Fine. So there is little bit of competition and there is little bit of monopoly power attached to each and every company. Fine. But here also, apart from that, here we have large number of buyer and seller.
Mm.
Okay. So if you see, you will see a progression here. Monopoly, duopoly, oligopoly, and now we are talking about monopolistic competition.
Mm.
All right. So here again, the products are not because see in this case, what did we say? Highly differentiated, no close substitute. Fine.
Mm.
These are in duopoly, you have a similar kind of product. All right,
Yes.
but there is no third player with same kind of product. Oligopoly, so some people selling similar kind of stuff.
Mm.
All right, which is again differentiated but it's almost same like sedan car. So every company which is selling their cars here, they may have one sedan model. Fine.
Mm.
Fine. So this is how it is, one sports car. So again all the companies will have one sports car. So you can choose from all of those companies. Correct. So the products are differentiated, yet they are similar to some extent. Here we are talking about very similar kind of products, which again we try to differentiate on the basis of advertisement. All right.
Mm.
Monopolistic competition. The main thing here is that the demand curve is kinked. Fine. So it one line like this, another like this, and at this point of price this is the quantity. Now the applicable demand curve here is this line, this one and this one. Okay. So it looks like this. So that is why it's called kinked demand curve. Okay. Kinked at this point. Are we fine with this? This line is not active, this line is not active. Fine. The idea again not required here. We are not doing economics class, but the idea is if you try to increase your uh, price, all right? If you try to increase your price, nobody will follow you and you will be losing this much of business. So you may think, fine, in that case, I will reduce the price and I will gain so much because this is the company's demand curve, right? But that will not happen because if you reduce, other competitors will also reduce and you will get only this much benefit. So if you reduce the price, everybody will reduce. But if you increase the price, nobody will increase it with you. Okay? So that is this line. Okay. Fine. So this was our monopolistic competition, and at the end we have one of the final one, which is perfect competition. Okay. So in perfect competition, now what do we have?
Yes.
We have large number of buyer and seller selling identical product, no entry exit, no barriers. Fine. So these are few of the things that we have here. I think that is easy.
Yes.
Okay. So these are the things that we have. Now the most important thing here is that your, for a company, the demand curve is like this, a straight line. Okay. P equal to AR equal to MR. Fine. Price is equal to average revenue is equal to marginal revenue. Since these companies are very small, they are price takers. All right. And that means the price is determined by the market, demand supply. Okay. The price is determined by the market, and whatever the price is, now every small company will have to take that as a price and they will continue with that. You can sell as many products as you can think of. Now why are we giving you this opportunity? As many products as you can, because you are a small company. How many units you will be able to sell? So when I am giving you this opportunity, that you can do as much as you want, right? Like, for example, if you haven't learned anything, you don't know anything, and I'm asking you to sit for a medical exam, fine, medical test, I mean, entrance test. So you are going to become a doctor. You guys are all student of ACCA, okay?
Okay.
And I'm telling you that no, you go and sit for this exam, unlimited time. So even if I give you 3 days, what will you write? That doesn't make sense, right?
Yes.
Fine. So that is why here when we say you can sell as many goods as possible, don't take it too seriously. Why? Because large number of buyer seller means every producer is small only, right? So there is a limit to which he can go. Right? This line cannot go to infinity because there are many people doing production. You are not alone there. Fine. This is the one of the important characteristics of perfect competition. See, these things again helps. Marginal cost curve is like this, and this is the optimum point. This is the point at which this particular producer will be in the best possible scenario. So if he is making profit, his profit will be maximum if he sells this many units. Okay. If he is making a loss, his loss will be minimum at this many units. Are we fine with that? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody is getting depressed. Please wake up. All right. Same thing, same curve in monopoly is like this. In monopoly, there is your average revenue curve. See, in that case, it was a straight line, and your MR will be again like this. I mean, this is supposed to be half, so let me make it a little bit properly. Yeah, MR. Fine. And here also, our marginal cost curve is like this. So wherever it is cutting this one, this is the best point. Fine. How many units? See, understand, if you are a monopoly, fine, You are a monopolist, correct? Now the choice to you is what? How many units you will produce and sell? How will you decide that? You are price maker, you have to decide the price. Okay, so pay attention to this. You can decide the price, you cannot decide my decision that I will buy at that price or not. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay, so like see, the normal criteria for demand is this downward sloping demand curve. Everybody faces the same thing. Now as a monopolist you get a choice, like how much, what should the price be, because accordingly the quantity will come. How will you decide that what should be the price? Tell me. How will you decide that what should be the price? If you are the monopolist, how will you determine the price? Okay. So basically what the monopolist does is they make this graph, and from here they see that where is this line going. Okay, means first they decide that okay, this many units I want to make. Now like this is the best position, correct? So this is the price I will have to keep. This is how they decide on the price, because for them there is no market force. Fine. For these people there was market force. The market was determining this is the demand, this is the supply, and see this is the market. So that will be applicable for everybody. If this is the market, this is the company, and all the companies will have same line. If there are 10 companies, all of them will have the same. Obviously there will be more than 10. We are talking about large number of buyer and seller, right? So the price is being determined by the market, not by an individual. Okay, but here the individual gets a chance. So how will he decide? He will draw this one first. He will see what quantity I will sell, where I will be at the maximum profit, and then that is what he will write here, and he will try to see what is the price coming, and then he will say fine, this is my price, I will sell at this price, and eventually he will end up selling this many units, correct?
Yes.
If he tries to charge more than that, then he will be getting less money, right? I mean, less demand. See, today Google is being used everywhere. Now imagine Google comes up with this idea, 10 real per search. How many people will go on Google?
Mm.
Fine?
But
Yeah.
in Monopoly, there's no similar products that it's alternative products. The buyer doesn't have a choice. Whatever the
Yeah, so we'll have to.
Very good.
yeah
You all right.
yeah
So if Google starts to charge, then somebody will put a gun on your head and ask do 5 searches daily. You have no other option, but you can
Yeah.
you can leave it altogether, right?
Yes.
That
but
option you have, correct?
there is another search engines.
No, listen. even if even if we have no other search engine, like again I'm telling you, see, Microsoft once upon a time they enjoyed this monopoly. All right, so
Mm.
see, if they keep the prices too high, then nobody will buy it. That option they have, right? That option they have. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Like let's say if I am the only company who is making mobile phones,
Mm.
nobody else is making mobile phones, only I can make the mobile phones. All right, if I keep the price as $100, all right, everybody will buy mobile phones. Every children going to KG nursery also needs a mobile phone. They will also be like provided with a phone,
Yeah.
correct? Okay, if I keep the prices at the least price is $10,000, nothing less than that.
Mm.
Okay, only few people will buy. Then you will not say that no, there is no other option, so what can I do? I will have to buy $10,000 phone and give it to my kid who is in class 5.
Mm. Okay.
Then like today what is happening, you are
Mm.
giving smartphones to students who are in maybe 2 3 4, correct?
Yeah.
like third standard, fourth standard. Why? Because it is convenient, right? When they are going to school, then school is over, so they can call you, you can call them and find out where they are, correct? So that you can come and pick and all that stuff.
Mm.
Fine. So it is convenient that way, correct? But imagine the price of that phone, if it is like, $10,000, then like, you will feel convenient in saving that $10,000.
Yes.
Correct? This is what I'm trying to tell you, that monopolist is alone. Fine. But he cannot compel you to buy something, correct? Okay?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that option as a consumer you already have. Fine. It's not that every day there is a oath that I have to do 5 searches. So if not Google, I will have to find something else. It's not like
Oh,
that. Okay? And actually this convenience, is doing too much harm to the, like, human race. Fine.
mm.
In the name of convenience, these people are selling us anything, and we consumers, like idiots, we are like, we are ready to buy anything just in the name of convenience.
Mm.
Okay. Long story, let it be. Are we fine with this one? This
Yes.
market part is over. 5 markets, and like these are the main things which we need. Fine. So I hope we are done with this one. This was
Yes.
topic number 1, markets. Now we'll be talking about topic number 2, which will start with demand, and then it will go a little bit forward. And again, see, while doing all these discussions, there will be many times where, like, if this is the boundary of F5,
Mm.
fine. If this is what they have given in the book, I will be like, somewhere here doing discussions. Sometimes I'll be out of the syllabus, inside of the syllabus, but I, like, I have a way of discussing things. All right. So one thing will lead to another, then another, then another, and then the whole thing will make sense.
No.
Fine. So that's why at times I will be telling you few things which are out of the syllabus, but like, it is required to, like, make this whole thing one chunk of information. Otherwise, like, again, I'll be giving you 20 things, 20 points. I'm just trying to reduce all that and make these points as less as possible. See, I mean, again, from where I look at it, I don't find difficult a huge information. Like, give me too many things, but they have to be structured, so no problem. You give me small 10 things, I will get confused in that. If they are not in order, if they are not in a structure, then it is very difficult to remember all these 10 things. But if you add these 10 things in a story, now however big it is easy to keep in mind. Fine. So that is what my analysis and observation has been as a student. So that's why I, like, I teach this way. I try to put, like, a story. I try to tie things up so that if you understand one thing, obviously that will help you in understanding the second topic also. Okay. So now we are talking about demand. What is demand? What is demand? There are 3 criteria, 3 things for demand. There has to be want for the product. Okay. There has to be willingness. Let's put the second one as ability to pay. Ability to pay for the product, and willingness to pay. Willingness to pay for the product. So if these 3 things are together, then only that is considered as demand. Okay. Now, what are the factors that are affecting demand? Factors affecting demand. All these things, I consider that you guys have done this somewhere, sometime in your life. So I will, like, try to not get into all this too much. Fine. So if you require more information, tell me. So point number 1, factors affecting demand, price of the product, easy.
Mm.
Fine. If the price increases, demand decreases and all that stuff. That is law of demand also, which we'll talk about right now. Price of the product. Fine. Then we have income of the consumer. Income of the consumer. That is I. Then what do we have? We have point number 3, price of related commodity. Okay.
Mm.
Related commodity. Now, what is related commodity?
Like raw materials?
No, no, no. For example, if we are talking about tea, all right? If we are talking about tea, right? Then related commodities are of two types. One is known as substitute,
Mm.
okay? That is coffee,
Mm.
okay? Another one is known as complementary goods.
Like sugar.
Yeah, sugar and milk.
Mm.
Fine. So these things. Now, the price of related commodity also affects the demand. All right. If coffee's price increase, then the demand of tea will also increase. Correct? Is that fine?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if the price of milk increases, then the demand for tea will decrease. If the price of sugar increases, the demand for tea will decrease. Okay.
Yep.
So point number 4 can be taste and preference. Taste and preference. At times, this also affects demand. Let's call it T. Okay. Like again, examples can be like for example, see the design things. All right. We like for example, winter wear. What option do you have? Fine. Two things. Either you will go for sweaters or you will go for leather jackets. Right? Is there any third option? I'm just asking.
No.
I think this is it, right? Now, what you will see is there will be time when the jackets will be too much in demand, and slowly everybody, these are two extremes. So we'll move this side when more people will become here, like will come on this side. Fine. Whatever is unique, that will look like fancy to us. Then everybody will start shifting to this point, and then they'll realize we are all here. Correct. So we'll just keep on going back and forth, back and forth. That is how it works. That is called cyclical movement. All right. What was that? Moving averages stuff, right? Trends. That is how trends work. Fine. So here, taste and preference basically means when many people are wearing jackets and jackets are normal, fine. Some people wearing sweaters, that will become a new trend because some people are wearing it, and then again there will be a shift from jackets to sweaters because now sweaters will be in. We try to be unique, fine, though all of us are same, but we try to be unique in our own mind, and that is why we do all this kind of idiotic stuff. Fine, we keep on jumping from one point to another. So taste and preferences change, and that do affect demand. Then an important thing, demography, by they may change the name, all right, but the basic thing is demography is basically classification. Fine, when you distribute, fine, classify a population, society, all right, that is called demography. Now, demography means you can do this on different levels, on the basis of gender, on the basis of income, on the basis of age. All right. So on these basis, you can distribute a society. Like for example, a society where like gender imbalances are there. All right. Means women are more than men. Okay. Now in that place, the kind of demand that you will have will be little bit different. Fine. The like the requirements, the shops, the things which they are selling, all right, all of that will be according to that place. If you are in a place where age, the age of let's say below 10, all right, the numbers of below 10 years of age is very high. Fine. then you will find the shops which are being built up in that area, most of them will be related to these products, right? So demography also has a role to play in your demand. And then sixth can be government, all right? Government policies. So at times the government also tries to manipulate the demand. Fine. For example, like in India, high taxes on cigarettes. Okay. And then like making rules for smokers. So now there was a time when there was no issue with smoking. All right. I still remember in my childhood, people who used to come, like, if they are coming to visit you, there also in your house also, they will light a cigarette, no problem. Now I don't think anybody does that. Fine. Cigarette was common on streets. You will find people smoking and walking both at the same time. But then now, because of all these efforts of the government, things have changed. Fine. Now it is not that common. One second. Let me fix this. What, I have not even switched it on, it seems. One second. Okay. So government policies, fine. From no rules, then we started having no smoking zones, and now we have smoking zones. Like, now this is only where you can smoke, otherwise you can't. So that is how government policies does affects demand. Now, anything that you can connect with demand, all right, is a factor affecting demand. Fine. Anything, pricing, quality. Now it depends on what arguments you want to do. The first 5 points that I have mentioned, any book you pick up, fine, you will find those 5 points everywhere. Okay. And apart from that, now it depends on which book you are following, which book you are reading. Accordingly, they will make up things. Fine. So this is normal. Fine. We were talking about demand. I hope we are fine with it. Demand, factors affecting demand. Okay. Now, this brings us to this. Now, this is not in the book. Demand function. Okay. So, demand function, we write it like this. Demand is a function of price, because the price will change and the demand will change. Income, income will change, demand will change. Price of related commodity, fine. Then tastes and preferences, demography, government, and so on. So demand depends on so many things. We have got only two axes, x and y. We want this in this format. Y is a function of x, where X is independent and Y is dependent. But here, if I write ABCD all from A to Z, it will be difficult for us to find out the effect of one thing on demand. Okay, so what we do is we do this. See, we write it like this: demand of X as a function of price of X. Okay, other things remaining the same. Okay, are we fine with it? And then we do demand of X as a function of I, again other things remaining the same. So this way what we do is we take one variable at a time and we try to see the impact of that. Okay, are we fine with this? Now we can do that for all of them, right? Why my okay, I think need to do something with my laptop. It's getting all right. So this is our demand function. After this we'll talk about law of demand, and I'll not get into too much into this why and how. I hope you guys will agree. Law of demand is when price increases, demand falls, and vice versa. That means when price falls, demand increases. Simple. Why it happens? There are three reasons: the income effect, substitution effect, and the law of diminishing marginal utility. Because of this happens. Fine. They are not going to ask you the reasoning. I hope till here we are fine. Law of demand:
Yes.
price increases, demand
Yes, sir.
decreases, price decreases, demand increases. There
Yes.
are exceptions to the law of demand,
Mm.
right? Exceptions to the law of demand means there are times, at times price increases and demand also increases. Okay,
Mm.
and
Yes.
price falls and demand also falls at times. This happens at times. So these are known as exceptions. That's it. I mean, I don't want to go further in this. That is it. Fine.
Mm.
Fine. Law of demand: price increase, demand decreases. Fine. At times this doesn't work. Fine. When it doesn't work, see, when we are talking about abnormal kind of goods, not normal goods, okay, then this can happen that the price will fall and the demand will also fall. Fine. Inferior goods. So these are some examples of this. Again, that is like core economics stuff, so I don't want to get into that. In situations when people are doing speculation, all right, so something which was sold for $10 went down to $9. Fine, so the demand should increase, but we are expecting the price to go all the way down to $5. If this is what we are expecting, correct? Now you guys tell me, when the price falls to 9, what will happen to demand? Will it increase or it will stay normal or decrease further? Because we are expecting the price to go where? Go to 5. So we will hold our consumption, right? Will not buy, we will wait. Let the price fall all the way down to 5 and then I will buy. Correct? So even if
Yes.
the price is falling, demand was supposed to go up, but it will not. Are we fine with
Mm.
this? Why?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we were doing
Yes.
speculation. Okay? Now, in all these things, and we are still in point number 2 because we are talking about demand and all that economics stuff. Now, this is elasticity. Okay? So now we are going to start a new topic under the same head: elasticity. So first of all, what do you understand by the word elasticity? All right. Elasticity basically means responsiveness. All right.
Mm.
Degree of responsiveness. Response. All right. Response.
Mm.
Fine. So see, initially also we discussed when we were talking about this, like this y equal to fx.
Mm.
All right. So again, I'll bring that discussion here. Y equal to fx means y is a function of x, means X will move independently and Y will change according to that movement, because this is independent, remember, and this is dependent,
Yes.
correct? So like this is the cause and effect kind of thing. Fine, this is the cause and this is the effect. Fine. Now if X will move, I'm not saying increase decrease, if X will move, Y will also move, correct?
Mm.
They are connected, right? Dependent, independent.
Yes.
So if X will move, Y will also move, right? To what extent responsiveness, how much? All right, that is elasticity. Do you understand? We are not saying that if this will increase by $10, this will decrease by 2 kg. Fine. We are not talking about the numbers. We are talking about the percentage.
Oh, okay.
Fine. So that is elasticity, degree of responsiveness. We are not like, this is not an absolute thing. Fine, that okay, this is 2 kg, this is 1 kg. It's not like that. Fine. I hope we are clear with this one.
Yeah.
This is elasticity, simple. Fine. So if I have to explain elasticity, again I'm doing this just for clarity, because here they have jumped directly into price elasticity of demand. They have started from there. Anyways, elasticity is what? Percentage, and this is delta, means change. Are we fine with that?
Yeah.
So how are we going to read this? See, elasticity is percentage change in Y, fine, that is the dependent variable, because of percentage change in X. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So fine, this is elasticity. Then if I ask, because see, generally again I'm repeating what happens. If you ask anybody what is elasticity, their answer is change in quantity because of change in price.
Mm.
But I didn't ask about price elasticity of demand. There, I mean, I didn't said price, I didn't said demand, right? If you ask elasticity, then also you will get the same answer. If you ask price elasticity of demand, then also you get the same answer. That's why I do it this way. First, I start from elasticity. Now, what is elasticity of demand? Demand, right? So again, I haven't put any word here, right? Price elasticity, income elasticity, nothing, right? So elasticity of demand will be percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in px, I, py, tg, everything, right?
Mm.
In short, percentage change in factors affecting demand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I ask you, how do you calculate price elasticity of demand? Okay. Price elasticity of demand. Then your answer will be percentage change in quantity by percentage change in price. Are we fine with that?
Yes.
Again, our book had started from here. In the book, we have started from this point onwards. Fine. Why I'm saying this? Because again, see, I I like to connect the things. Fine. So in class 11, 12, you may have done elasticity. I don't know, may not. No problem. Because I'm just trying to connect things. See, elasticity. You can have price elasticity of demand. You can have income elasticity of demand. You can have cross elasticity of demand, cross price elasticity of demand. Fine. Three types. Okay. In F5, they have only discussed about price elasticity of demand. So the remaining two, we are not going to talk, will not get into that zone. Okay. Now, in how many ways this calculation can be done? Again, you may have already done all these three methods: percentage method, arc elasticity, point elasticity. They have done the same thing, but they haven't used the name. Okay, so if I just put the name there, this class will become like a revision class to you. Otherwise, you will think like, okay, we are doing something new and magical here. Fine. So that's the whole idea of doing it, like, in this way, step by step, is starting from where it should start and then coming all the way down to this. Fine. Now, price elasticity of demand, how can we further do this? Fine, how can we write this properly? Percentage change in quantity, right? So see, change in quantity divided by original quantity into 100. What will you get if you do this? Percentage change in quantity, correct? $10 is the price, 100 units you are selling. The price became 11 and now you are selling 90 units. So change in quantity is what? 10. Okay, original quantity is 100, right? So when you'll do the maths, you will get what? 10. Here you will get 10%, correct? Similarly, price. So what is the change? Change in P by original P into 100. Okay, so here also you will get 10%. So the elasticity that you will get is 1. Are we fine with this?
Yes.
So fine. How can I let you guys be fine then? Moving forward from here, like, we don't need this. This was just to explain this part. Fine. See, this is okay. Then this 100 and 100 gets cancelled off. Correct? Maths, right?
Yes.
Okay. And now, see, change in Q by Q. Okay, that was the thing, right? This whole thing gets divided. Okay, I can write it like this, no problem. So fine, change in Q by Q divided by change in P by P. Is that okay? Instead of putting this line, I can write it like this, right? Then
Yes.
when you multiply, this thing goes up, this thing comes down. So this becomes P and this becomes change in P. Correct?
Yeah.
Is this okay or should I give an example?
No, it's okay.
Everybody is fine with this? Okay, fine then. Because see, if you are okay with this, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it here and this will go that side. Obviously 3 into 2 or 2 into 3 doesn't make any difference. 6, right? In both the cases.
Yes.
So now this whole thing will look like this. Change in Q by change in P multiplied by P by Q. Okay? By default, there will be a minus sign over here. Okay, because for all the normal cases, price elasticity of demand will be negative. Price increases, demand falls, right? In our example, if you remember, I had done this 10 and 11, 100 and 90. Fine. So if you want to write this as 10, means you are doing this minus this. Okay. You are doing 100 minus 90. So when you do 10 minus 11, you will get minus 1. Okay, if you want to do 90 minus 100, you will get minus 10 and plus 1. So any one of this will be negative. Do you understand? Any one of this will be negative. Why? Because in normal circumstances, that is what happens, right? Price and quantity has negative correlation, negative relationship among themselves. Okay. So this is price elasticity of demand. This one which we are doing here is known as percentage method. Fine. How can you calculate elasticity? So this is one way in which you can calculate elasticity. Done?
Yes.
The next way is when you have to do this for if this is your demand curve and the company wants to know what is the elasticity between these 2 points. They want to know the elasticity between these 2 points. Fine. So this is P1 Q1, P2 Q2. Fine. See, the formula is not too different from what we have just done here. Okay, what we just have. Fine. So see, price elasticity is equal to, fine, see, look at this, change in Q. You are going to write Q2 minus Q1. This is the same, like here you represented that with a symbol. Fine. So don't do that. Write the whole thing. It will look like this only, right? Are you guys understanding or only I am understanding this?
Yeah, a little.
Okay, fine. So one more thing I'll do and we'll stop today. Fine? Uh,
Okay.
fine. We'll just do one calculation because actually there is, like, nothing I'm trying to do. What do you say? New here. Fine. I'm just trying to take you one step at a time. We started with elasticity, that is degree of responsiveness. If this is changing, this will change. We know that. Fine. Okay. Now, how much it will change? What will be the degree of change? Not the absolute amount, but still the relational part of it. Fine. So we came to this conclusion, elasticity. Then we talk about elasticity of demand, and finally we came to elasticity, price elasticity of demand. This is how it should be. Now, two more things. Fine. This is arc elasticity. By the way, the name is not given in the book. I don't think we need it also, but the formula is there. So that has to be clear. Fine. Same formula which we have here has been rearranged. That's all I'm trying to say. The same formula which we have here, because change in Q means what? If your quantity was 100, right? And now it is 90. Fine. If your quantity was 100 and now it is 90. So change in Q is what? 10. Means this minus this. So if I'm saying this is Q2, this is Q1, the Q2 minus Q1 will give me the same 10, right?
Yes.
That is what I'm saying is the same thing. Fine. And here it will be P2 minus P1. So till here we are just like writing the same equation in a different notation. Correct?
Yes.
Then what happens? See, this is where the magic happens, because earlier we were doing P and Q. What was P? Old, like, P1, Q1, because that was the original price and quantity. Now they say in this one that no, don't do that. You actually do this Q1 and P2 divide by 2, average. You do the average. That is the theory. Are we fine with that?
Yes.
So what is the difference between percentage and arc method? In percentage method, you are doing change in Q by change in P multiplied by original P and Q, which is P1 and Q1. Fine. In arc elasticity, we are saying no, we'll calculate the average, we'll calculate the percentage on the basis of average price and average quantity, not on the original P1 and Q1 only. Fine. Now mathematically what happens, see, this 2 and this 2 gets cancelled off. So we are left with only this part. Does this make sense to you? Fine.
Yeah.
So formula wise, it looks little bit different and magical maybe. Q2 minus Q1 minus divided by P2 minus P1 multiplied by P1 plus P2, or you can write P2 plus P1, right? Divided by P2 plus Q. Okay, here I think I have made a mistake. This will be Q2. Yeah. Are we fine with this?
Yeah.
So again, I don't look at these two things at two different formulas. Again, that minus sign here will be by default. Are we fine with this?
Yes.
Now, what were we
Yes.
trying to find out? What were we trying to find out? In this zone, what is the elasticity? So maybe the company is currently at this price, they are planning to increase the price, or maybe they are at this price, they are planning to decrease the price. So they just want to see that now, if I do any tampering with the price, what will be the effect of that movement in my demand. That's why they want to do all this maths. Okay. Now, see, there are two things left which I will not do today. All right. We have point elasticity. Fine. And then we have, like, different types of elasticities and like the diagrams of it. Fine. So all of that I'll push to the next. Fine. Now, one very important thing. Why are we like breaking our head so much on elasticity? What was the chapter? See, the chapter name was what? Pricing decision.
Mm.
So now why you are like killing us with all this elasticity stuff? Fine. We had to talk about demand because we had to come down to elasticity. That's why we discussed demand.
Mm.
All right. In the book also they have done the same way, they have discussed demand, but they were compelled to discuss demand because of elasticity. And now, fine, another 5 minutes without anything that we have discussed here. I want now common sense kind of discussion. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So just leave all this. Okay. Now common sense. Fine.
Yeah.
The See, the discussion here is what? Find the discussion here is what? I have to use the word elasticity. So just I want to remind you guys, what did we discuss elasticity? Currently we are talking about price elasticity of demand, correct? So basically what was that? What is the change in quantity because of change in price? Okay.
Mm.
If I change the price, what will be the change in my demand? All right. Now see, if this change is high, that means what? If I change the price, the quantity will move to a huge extent.
Mm.
Fine. In this market, if I get to know this, then what should I do? Should I increase the price or should I try to reduce the price? If this is my demand curve and I got to know that the elasticity is too high. Elasticity high means what? The response, right? The
Mm.
response is too high. Now you guys tell me, what kind of consumers responds to price? Responds to price. And too much response, like the response is too high. So what kind of consumer does that? Poor consumers, right? Basically, have you
Low
ever
income. Yeah.
heard of a stock clearance sale in Ferrari? They are giving discounts. Fine. So if elasticity is too high, that automatically means we are talking about poor people who are for whom the price is a very important factor.
Mm.
Fine. Now, in this case, would you like to increase the price? Because if you increase the price, this is a big factor for them. So maybe most of them will leave your product and they'll go for something else.
Mm.
So if you get to know that elasticity is too high, you should try to do whatever is in your capacity to reduce the price, because even if you reduce the price little bit, the effect of that will be too higher for you. You will get too much of benefits from that, too much of new customers you will gain, right?
Mm.
But if you try to increase the price, like that will be a suicide for your company,
Yes.
because these people are responding too much, correct?
Mm.
Fine. This is the end result why we were
Okay.
doing all this discussion, right?
Mhm.
If the elasticity is very low, too low, then it means what? You are dealing with in luxury items with rich people. So no worries, they don't want, they don't look at the price. Fine. So if this is your demand curve, and you can add some little bit of benefits, add benefits worth $10 and increase the price by $200, these guys will not mind. There will be very small fragment of people who will leave your product. They'll still come to you because
Mm.
they are not looking at the price at all, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So pricing decision, is elasticity affecting our pricing decision?
Yes.
Very good. So on this brilliant note, we'll leave today's class. Okay. And again, next class we'll start with this point elasticity and little bit more discussion on elasticity. Fine.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll move on to the other points that we have. Okay.
Okay.
That is
Bye.
it for today.
Have a good day.
You guys also have a good day.